I call the regular council meeting to order. I will start over. I will call the regular council meeting for October the 4th, 2017 to order. And I will ask for confirmation of the agenda. And if I could start with Deputy Mayor Graychuk, do you have any changes to the agenda?
I just got a bouquet to read at one of the areas there.
Well, you can do that. You don't have to announce it under questions and council statements.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Fuel?
I have nothing, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Peterson?
I have one thing, Your Worship, under 9, I guess.
Under 9?
Or, no, it's 13, sorry.
I'm gonna get my agenda.
13? Responses, so you've got a new one, 13?
Parkway Drive, yeah.
13.2. Councillor Walls?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick comment under 12A.
Thank you. Councillor Blokeland?
Thank you, Your Worship. I have 2 statements under 12.
Thank you. Councillor Sobel?
I have nothing else.
Thank you very much. And administration, do you have any changes?
Yes, Your Worship. We have a few additions. We have item 3.1, Certificate of Recognition. 10.1, as an urgent item, Bylaw 17-15, Elections Bylaw Amendment Bylaw.
17-15?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Item 14.2, a matter under FOIP Section 24.
14.2,
Your
Section
Worship.
24.
Yes, Your Worship.
Your Worship, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Please,
I'd move to adopt the agenda as amended.
we have a motion to accept the agenda as amended. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Next item on the agenda is presentations and recognitions. This evening, I would like council to join me, and we're going to be presenting to Mr. John Godsman a certificate that he has received from the provincial government. And in part, I will read the letter that he received, and it's from Lori Sigurdsson, Minister of Seniors and Housing. And she says, "Dear Mr. Godsman, please accept my congratulations on your nomination for a 2017 Minister's Senior Service Award. Thank you," and I'm only going to read it in part. "The work that you do to help the seniors in your community is very much appreciated, and I thank you for your valuable contributions to seniors and to your community." And Mr. Godsman was invited to the seniors recognition in Calgary, but he was unable to make it. So we're going to present the appreciation certificate from the minister to Mr. Godsman. And I would ask if Mr. Godsman would come forward and council would join me.
Maybe if we can move you guys over just so I don't have a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Over. More. Okay, and then we'll just get you guys really to squish together. All right, let me see. Oh yeah, this is kind of in the way. Can I move this back? Okay, that should be fine. And we'll do one more.
It's an honor to recognize the people in our community that give back, and in John's case, he does a considerable amount of work for our seniors in our community, and thank you very much for all you do, John. Next item on our agenda is delegations, and Mr. John Godsman will be making a presentation. John, if you'd like to come forward.
Mr. Mayor, councillors, this is getting to be a habit. Since May 2010, I have been writing a newspaper column entitled Remembering Our Roots, and every 2 years I transcribe the articles into book form. Volume 1 was published in 2013, Volume 2 was published in 2015, and Volume 3 will be published by the end of 2017. These books are biographies of seniors who live in Strathmore and Wheatland County. Both the Six Seeker Outreach School and Children's Wish Foundation have benefited from the sale of my books. As far as I can gather, publishing costs remain the same as for previous years, around $5,600 to $6,000. This includes compilation of the articles published by Assist Business Centre here in Strathmore, and publishing by Blitzprint in Calgary, a company that specialises in these types of books. I would be grateful if Strathmore Town Council would assist in sponsoring some of these costs. All sponsors are acknowledged at the front of the book, along with a notation that both volumes 1 and 2 are now on display in the Glenbow Museum in Calgary. And now I can add nominee for the Seniors Award. In 2013 and 2015, the town of Strathmore graciously donated $500, and I hope you'll be kind enough to repeat this donation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Are there any questions?
Any questions? I put that in the bottom here. Are there any questions?
Deputy Mayor Greyjohn?
Not to you, but thank you, John, very nice. Isn't there a committee set up for this that we go through to donate?
There is, but this doesn't, I think, doesn't fit under the rules of our community incentive. Go ahead, Ms. Swatsky.
No, Your Worship, it doesn't fit really in any of our committees. That committee is set up more for special events and such in the town, not donations such as this.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah.
If there's no questions, I'll take a nomination.
I have a question.
Go ahead, please.
So, John, my concern is, so we have 3 volumes, and my concern is, because I know you've been asking people who to succeed you. Will this be your last volume, do you think?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay, that's fair. I just want to say from the perspective of sitting on the Seniors Advisory Committee, how the value that people see in this, that we have something that we've never had before in a record of the history of the seniors of this community. I honestly can say I wish that there had always been this kind of record on tap, and you've made it very, very easy for us, and I'm very, very grateful. And in saying that, Your Worship, I'm willing to make a motion,
Please.
and I would move that Strathmore Town Council contribute $1,000 toward the Remembering Our Roots, Volume 3, to John Godsman.
May I ask a question?
I'll explain why, Your Worship, if I can speak to the motion.
Well, before you finish your
Yeah,
motion, I
yeah.
would like to ask where the money's going to be coming from,
Yeah,
and you could include that in your motion.
I just need to ask
Okay.
first about that. So that's, I'm going to ask administration about, I'm sure it would come out of financial stabilization, but before I do that, I think we also have other places where it might be able to come. But I just want to say that in writing these 3 volumes, Mr. Gosman talks about the publishing costs and how he's sought out the very best deals for doing this. But what he doesn't talk about is that there's no charge for the time, no charge for the mileage, no cost for the word processing that he does at home or the time he takes away from his family. And I think, there's a reason why he received this award tonight in service to our community, and I'm very, very grateful to that. And one of the other things that I know when we're talking about taking money for donations is that this council has been extraordinarily prudent in not utilizing professional development funds. And I'm wondering, I don't know if open budgets can be transferred. So I'm just saying, there's a lot of money at the end of this term that has not been utilized, that was budgeted for. And that money goes back into general revenue, I'm assuming?
So, Your Worship, just specifically to this donation, there are funds budgeted for donations such as these, if council chooses to make them. So there are funds in the budget.
Thank you
for
very
this.
much. There we go. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Peterson. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you, John.
May I say one more thing?
By all means.
When you read the next article in the Strathmore Times, you will see the amount of work that was done. It was quite a long interview. You'll be quite interested, and I also wish to thank Council very, very much. The reason I'm hesitating about going forward, health was not good to me the last 15 months. I have to see where that goes next year. So when I'm doing it, I'm taking a sabbatical from writing until the end of this year, and then we will decide in the beginning of January as to whether volume 4 will come about. Thank you.
Okay.
That's what owes you thanks.
Thank you, John. Next item on our agenda is the minutes of the September 20th, 2017 regular council meeting.
I so move, Your Worship.
We have a motion to accept the minutes for the regular council meeting of September the 20th. All in favor? Carried. Next item on our agenda is the development permit for a digital sign located on Municipal Reserve. Who will be coming forward to speak on that? Ms. Royer, you have the floor.
Can you turn on the TV, please? Thank you. I think it's on. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Good evening, Your Worship. I'm here tonight to present development permit application 17D 162, which is for a digital video sign. The subject parcel, sorry, I'll just scroll down here. The subject parcel is located at 510 Highway number 1 North at the intersection of Wheatland Trail and Highway number 1. And the parcel is designated Municipal Reserve, which is adjacent to the highway commercial and is currently owned by the town of Strathmore. It's the green strip shown on the map. The development permit 17D 075 was issued in April of 2017 for the A&W restaurant, and the following picture is showing what was approved. On the left-hand side is the existing freestanding signage, that was in place for the A&W. And on the right-hand side is what we actually approved in April. So the changes were quite minimal to the design and just to some of the copy. And then what actually was, lost my spot. The approval was actually just based on the rationale that the sign was previously existing and proposed minor design updates. The freestanding sign was instead constructed with a digital video sign in place of the portion that says drive-through and the copy section. And looks something more like this, which is the current development permit we have under 17D 162, and is requesting approval for the digital video sign as a temporary use until such a time that the town of Strathmore requires use of the parcel. The land use bylaw 1411 currently does not provide regulations in regards to digital signage. An external circulation was sent to Alberta Transportation for comment based on the proximity to Highway number 1 and the Alberta Transportation regulations pertaining to roadside development. the comments we received from Alberta Transportation indicate a status of no objection to the freestanding digital sign as it's within municipal lands. And they did recommend or strongly suggest that we follow the recommended practices for electronic message signs when reviewing a digital sign application. Planning has drafted a set of conditions. I believe you have a copy. I don't know if you have copies yet. In the case that you did want to grant an approval or decide to grant an approval. At this time, the Development Authority is requesting, here, sorry, there's a couple more pictures here of the actual sign as it is in place. At this time, Development Authority is requesting that council render a decision on development permit application 17D 162 as a temporary use, giving consideration to the proposed conditions, and also recommending that a digital sign regulation be examined by planning policy to be included in the land use bylaw. Depending on how council wants to approach this, staff will develop a comprehensive report to bring forward to council a recommendation on digital signage. Thank you.
Questions? Deputy Mayor Graychalk?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm not opposed to this, but I'm just wondering, how did the sign get erected without administration's approval prior to it being going up?
Well, the approval, what we did approve was the right-hand side of this slide. And then, yeah, what they did actually put up instead was what's currently on the site. So we've asked them to come back for another permit, and that's where we got this.
So there was some sort of miscommunication.
I'm not sure that they maybe didn't realize they had to build it as was approved. They did never justify it to me, but.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Sobel?
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Rennie. So a couple of questions. First of all, I know there's probably a dozen or so recommended practices for electronic message signs that are being suggested by council, and I certainly agree that each and every one of them should be as a condition for the signage. My question is, failing to comply with those conditions results in, what are the ramifications to that?
If they are failing to comply, they, I believe, would have to pay fines. It's an enforcement issue then, in that case. We would also be able to, if they're not complying with the development permit as approved, we would also have the rights to remove the sign. So that's something that, I mean, in this case, we can, it's your decision. If we want to refuse this, then we would ask them to remove the sign altogether, the digital portion of the sign anyway, and go back to what was previously approved. Or if we do approve it, we can put conditions on, and these aren't all of them, obviously, but this is something that we would recommend, that we put on conditions saying, you know, that it can't be a certain brightness after a certain time of night or that kind of thing, just for safety. And
Sure.
But yeah, it basically becomes an enforcement issue as far as I'm aware.
All right, and the second part to that was, with that in mind, and I'm not objecting to this as well, but I do want the conditions, and just towards the end of the report, there is a, at the discretion of council, there's an option to approve the sign for a set amount of years, and it would be my suggestion, my contention that that should be put down for 1 year in order to facilitate the situation where perhaps the conditions are not being set, rather than going through any other process. We could just not approve the sign for the second year. That would be my contention anyway. That's all I have, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sobel. Councillor Peterson?
Thank you, Your Worship. Do you perceive any capacity for other locals in this area to contest this? Have they had opportunity?
There hasn't been a public consultation. We haven't received any complaints about the sign.
Right.
And as far as I'm aware, like our planning department hasn't received any complaints, and that was something that could be suggested that we maybe do a public consultation.
I think just because, just because there hasn't been an opportunity for consultation, and because they followed a policy of asking for forgiveness versus permission, I like Counselor Sobel's idea, and you're talking about the conditions on page 5 of the document. Yeah, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Peterson. Any other questions? Councillor Blokeland.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through the chair, is there a cost for these development permits for the sign?
There is, I believe it's $200 for the sign permit.
I wonder if that would make it cost inhibitive on these owners of these commercial properties that are using these type of signs if we set the number of years at 1. For
So
them
that
to come
every
back
year-
every year, they gotta pay $200. Mind you, it might be cheaper than paying the fine if they're not doing it right, maybe, I don't know. That's just a thought I had.
And that's a possibility. We can set the term to be a year. I did include a condition that said, as per the previous sign approval, that did say that if we, the town of Strathmore, require the land, say for road widening or any purpose that we want to use it for, that then the sign would have to be removed, and that's something that they had agreed to, a condition they agreed to on the first permit, so that would be something we would probably request on this one as well.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sobel.
Blokeland.
Or Councillor Blokeland. Who was first? Doesn't matter. Okay, Councillor Sobel?
You know, it's just a point of clarification. I wouldn't suggest that, I'm not suggesting that we would continue having 1-year extensions, but I think for the first year, to ensure the conditions are complied with, I think it might be a good idea. It's just a way of dealing with it easier in a year if there's non-compliance, I would suggest.
Thank you. Did you wish to add something?
Your Worship, if I may take the next step in terms of what Councillor Sobel has suggested, this particular sign here has hit something of a blind spot, we'll say, with the community's land use bylaws. Our land use bylaw is silent on digital signs, so a 1-year term would give staff the opportunity to develop policy amendments regarding digital signs, which could then be brought to council. That would also trigger, because it would be a land use bylaw amendment, that would trigger a public hearing. So staff would prepare bylaw amendments in the next year, bring those to council. That would trigger a public hearing so the community could raise any concerns on the matter, and then council could adopt a permanent bylaw to deal with these. So a 1-year term would time out really well with the policy amendments.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Greatchuk?
Thank you, Your Worship. Excuse me, this public reserve, that's owned by the town of Strathmore or the province?
This is owned by the town of Strathmore, yeah.
The reason I asked the question is that anybody that puts up signs along the highway on private property pays huge dollars per annum to erect these signs, and I know we want to be good neighborly and all that stuff, but you know, it's $200 is nothing to these people. I mean, it's got to be way more than that money, that kind of money for those commercial signs. They're making a lot of money off it, and we got to be, you know, it's good for the coffers. I mean, we got to be cognizant of the fact that it's a moneymaker.
I think that's an amendment to the fees bylaw that might be able to come forward as well.
We should be charging more, I think, way more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Greatchuk. Councillor Sobel, you wish to make a motion?
I would, Your Worship.
Please.
I'd move that council approve development permit application 17-D-162. Let me make sure I have that right.
Yes.
For a 1-year term with the 11 conditions contained on the report.
Discussion? Did you wish to speak to it?
I think it's self-explanatory.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is Environmental Sustainability Policy 8100. Ms. Swatsky, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Administration is bringing forward Sustainability Policy 8100 upon request from Council and the Sustainability Committee. The Sustainability Committee operates and bases some of their functions off of a plan that was developed by AECOM in 2012. Within that plan, there was identified that there's 5 pillars of sustainability that Strathmore could work towards. Those were cultural, social, environmental governance, and economic sustainability. The sustainability policy at the moment in time is focused on environmental sustainability. So it was administration's thought that we could separate out the different pillars of sustainability to have their own policies kind of under one umbrella sustainability policy. So tonight we're bringing forward the one pillar of environmental sustainability. The policy really has been drafted to develop an approach to environmental sustainability in accordance with the town's vision and mission. And it also provides a framework within which supporting protocols and procedures can be developed. In saying that, attached to the policy in your package is also a procedure that we have drafted that will help set best practices that will aid in the development and implementation of programs and practices that encourage environmental sustainability across town facilities and for town events and other events on town property. This policy was taken to the Sustainability Committee on September 18th. It was approved by the committee to bring forward to council, and administration is recommending that council approve the policy.
Thank you very much. Questions? Councillor Sobel?
Thank you, Your Worship. It's more of a comment. Do you want me to wait for comments, Your Worship? I have no questions.
Yeah, you should.
Yep.
Thank you. Any questions? Would you like to make some comments, Councillor Sobel?
Sure, as well as a motion,
Okay.
Your Worship, that I'd move that council approve the environmental sustainability policy as presented. And the comment just goes to the fact that the discussions among the Sustainability Committee centered around the need or the suggestion that before we go around telling everyone else to be environmentally friendly in different manners, that we should look inwards first, and as a community, as a town, perhaps provide some guidance and some leadership in regards to being leaders in the environmental sustainability methods. So the main goal for us was to get those best practices established. And I want to personally thank Jennifer for going about this in what I felt was ultimately, and this has been through the ringers a few times, but ultimately a method of doing this that makes a lot of sense with the policy as is. It sets forth the general idea of what we're trying to do. The important part for us is the procedure, and because it's written out as a procedure, this will be a living document, something that can be changed and added to with best practices, and give some guidance to town administration, town staff as to what council is expecting. And these are all commonsensical things. They're not. This is not rocket science. It's a matter of just everybody getting on the same page and saying, this is good for our environment. Let's all get together and be a little bit more eco-friendly. I don't think there's anything very outlandish in this. Once again, I think it's more common sense. It's just a matter of getting it in writing and starting to work together to improve our environment. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sobel. Councillor Peterson?
Thank you, Your Worship. I really appreciated the succinctness of the policy, and I like that the fact triple bottom line was included in it. I think it would be useful at some point in a definition somewhere that we have that. It's not something that everybody uses every day. The only thing I wondered about adding to it, and not today, but at some future time, I thought it might be really useful to add a tracking and measurement component in the process for evaluation and measurement into the future. And the place where I see that being most applicable to looking at the value of this policy would be in applying the procedures, and in terms of employees, contractors, and so on, that we probably could have an evaluative practice so that we could go back and take a look and see how we're doing. And I think the only other thing I wondered about in here, and it probably is included under something that I didn't understand, because there was one thing I didn't know what it was, and that is outlets for electric vehicles. I didn't know if that is included under Energy Star related products, or I wasn't certain whether that would fall under that. It would be a simple fix, I think, and certainly something that's going to be necessary, and it fits under your sustainability umbrella.
And if I may just respond to that, you know, the opportunities for charging, electrical vehicle charging, which I know is going to change over the next few years, but at present is mostly focused on private enterprise. Not as a municipality, because the idea of that is to enhance shopping experiences with charging locations that are near shopping. So I think eventually that's something that we should look at, because I think one day in time we are going to have electric vehicles being operated within town. But it's always important to remember that this is internal. This is just for our municipality. You know, what will come next will be, of course, some sort of procedure or effort to get everybody else on board with some issues in regards to environmental. But we're taking this very slowly. We don't want to be too pushy in this area.
I think it's a wonderful start, and I think, you know, statistically, they say by 2024, we'll have lots of driverless vehicles, and certainly all of them will be electric, and so we can have go-cars in the community. It will do, it'll meet that 15% reduction you're talking about. I'm very much in favor of the motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Peterson. We have a motion on the floor. No further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is reports from councillors on the committees they sit. And I don't think there is there any councillor that wishes to report on any committee? No? Yeah.
I have one thing that I could bring up.
Let me, Councillor Walls.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to bring just a quick library report up to the council's attention. So obviously the renovations are coming along very, very well for the library. Obviously we're a little bit slower right now because of the move and location. So just for information, 65,000 people came through the library doors last year. So really, really important just to recognize that that comment. Board wishes to thank Todd and Jim for coming to the last meeting and all of their great work that they've been doing on getting us that new building. GoFundMe account is currently up, and we are still actively looking for funds to continue building our reserves for a new library. The library board had their budget meeting on Saturday. We're looking at all different funding sources and revenues. James, we're going to need some help. Nothing further, Your Worship.
I don't know what he means by that.
I think he knows.
If I may, Your Worship, I think I do know.
Okay.
It involves a special tree that's only known to one person in this organization.
A special tree?
The money tree, Your Worship.
Oh.
Mel's money tree.
Oh, okay. All righty. No further, did you have something, Councillor Peterson? Go ahead.
Just a brief, Your Worship, the Seniors Committee has been working through Robert Phillips very diligently on a housing report. They've requested that they be allowed to make that presentation on the first meeting in December. So I thought I would do that before I forget. They asked me to bring that forward. The Strathmore Overnight Shelter has continued to build their board. They have requested a member from Siksika. They have agreement on that. The sprinkler system is in and complete, and panels are pretty much all done. And won't be long before there's a final inspection, and they're hoping that if they can get their policies, procedures, and intake process in place, that they will be open for late fall. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Peterson. Okay, next item on our agenda is bylaw 17-15 amendment. Ms. Sawatsky, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is in addition to the agenda. There's a report at Council's desk. We just have a small housekeeping matter to take care of. The election bylaw was passed earlier this year in April. Since that point, we've decided to utilize some different equipment. And within the Local Authorities Election Act, council must by bylaw specify procedures around voting and tallying of votes with electronic equipment. So we've included a bylaw to amend the original bylaw. Basically, it's removing the part where voters put their ballots into the machine. They'll just put it directly into a ballot box now, and it'll be counted at the end of the night. That's really the basic, that's really the change. It shows up in a number of areas, so we had to make those amendments, and we're recommending that council give all three readings tonight.
Thank you very much. Questions?
No question, Your Worship.
I'll take a motion, please.
Your Worship, I move the council give first reading to bylaw 17-15, elections bylaw amendment bylaw.
Thank you very much. We have first reading for bylaw 17-15, elections bylaw amendment bylaw. All in favor? Carried.
Your Worship, I move the council give second reading to bylaw 17-15, elections bylaw amendment bylaw.
Thank you very much. We have second reading for bylaw 17-15, elections bylaw amendment bylaw. All in favor?
Question on second,
Did you want to do a question on there? Okay. We'll do questions. Questions, sir?
yeah, we were just going a little fast here. I'm trying to read and catch up. The question I have is, why did we change?
We changed our choice of equipment to provide greater efficiency at the voting stations to move people through. That's right, yes.
So I just want to make sure I'm right on this. Are we now individually counting ballots?
No, Your
Oh, I'm
Worship.
sorry,
So
then you
the
see,
piece
I'm-
of,
I
I can explain, the
misunderstood
piece of equipment we have,
Yes.
basically we'll take all the ballots at the end of the night and it'll run through the machine all at once.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry. So we have motion for second reading. Oh, Councillor Blokeland.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I'm a little mixed up here too. So what do we gain from this by doing this? Other than people standing in line for 2 minutes maybe.
Right, and also, from experience in previous elections, there was some confusion with some people on how to put their ballots into the machines. Sometimes it'd spit them out because of mistakes and things like that. So it's just, it'll be more efficient for people just to put it in the ballot box. It's basically the old style way of voting, and then we just use the machine to count.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have motion for second reading. All in favor? Carried.
Thank God I showed up tonight, Your Worship. I would move the council give unanimous consent for bylaw 17-15, elections bylaw amendment bylaw.
Thank you very much. We have a motion for unanimous consent for third reading. All in favor? Carried.
And Your Worship, I'm honored to finish it off. I move the council give final reading to bylaw 17-15, elections bylaw amendment bylaw.
Thank you very much. Questions? No, I'm going to... No questions, no discussion, all in favor? Carried. So, next item on the agenda is questions between councillors, and I will start with, Councillor Sobel didn't have anything. Councillor Blokeland.
Thank you, Your Worship. I had, I had two items under this. I wanted to bring it to council's attention and administration and the public. The Chamber of Commerce is putting on their Small Business Awards Night Thursday, October 19th. Tickets are available at online or at Strathmore Chamber office. It's going to be a rather an interesting evening with a dinner. It's the doors open at 5. Dinner is at 6, I believe. Prime rib and chicken breast. The guest speaker is Todd Hirsch. We're looking for more tickets to sell, so anybody keep that in mind. If you want to be out for an enjoyable evening, you're certainly welcome. My second thing tonight, Your Worship. I would like to read a statement.
Please. Please.
It's a thank you statement, and I speak for myself and myself only. As a person and a councillor, I would like to personally thank you, the Mayor, Michael L., and Councillor Brad Walls, for their 4 years of service to council. Neither one of them are running for re-election. I really think it's admirable and commendable on their part. As we all know, sitting up here, it takes compassion, commitment, and a lot of care for anyone to do this, all for the benefit of Strathmore and the citizens. And I thank both you people.
Thank you very much for your words. I'm going to save it for second for last. Deputy Mayor Graychuk, did you have something you wanted?
Thank you, Your Worship. Okay here tonight, our hats are off to the town of Strathmore. Thank you for the new crosswalk on Wheatland Trail. Crossing the road has always been a great concern to us. Our grandchildren and other visitors are now using the crosswalk, and we appreciate your addressing this safety issue. Sincerely, the tenants of Strathmore Haven and Dr. Giffen Manor, and they all signed it personally, every one of them. And I want to thank my fellow councillors for helping us along with this. And it's just pretty much needed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Graychuk. Councillor Fuel, I forget if you had something.
No, I don't, Your Worship.
No, thank you. Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is just with regards to citizen concern on Park Lane Drive. Again, we took away their flashing light, and so there's been lots and lots of concern raised about that, and they just asked me to pass on that to please hurry and bring it back, that they are experiencing lots of concern on that stretch of road. And I did explain to them that council is purchasing 4 of those lights, the ones that we currently have, and that hopefully we'll be able to put one there in a more permanent fashion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Peterson. Councillor Walls.
I would just,
Oh,
I would just
sorry.
comment on that, it
sorry,
might
go
be
ahead.
difficult to do that on a permanent basis with only 4. But that's all I'll say on the matter.
One might add that one of the residents at the East End pointed out that there are 9 places for sale on that road, and it's just a very difficult place to live with the speed that people are traveling regularly.
Did you have something also, Councillor Bolton?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Councillor Walls.
Thank you, Your Worship. I wish to make a statement as well. I really want to thank the citizens of Strathmore for the honor of serving you for the past 4 years. It truly has been an honor. My decision to not seek re-election has not come easy. However, I know you'll be in great hands. We are a very vibrant town with lots going on, and I'm very excited to see what's going to happen in the next years. A couple of personal thank yous. I'd really like to thank Council for all of your support and your help in the past 4 years. As you know, it's been a little bit of a difficult one, and I really appreciate everything you've done for me. I also want to thank James and his administration team. It's truly been an honor, James, to work with you and your administration team. You have a very, very good team, and I'm excited to see where you guys are going to be as you continue to grow this town. It's really been an honor, James. Thank you very much. Councillors that are seeking re-election, I hope the best for each of you in your future endeavors, and those that are seeking re-election, the very best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Walls. And I also would like to say a few words, and I want to take a moment to express my deep gratitude to the citizens of Strathmore. To tell you I was honored and privileged to have served you for the past 4 years is an understatement. The support you expressed to me will be held in my heart for all time. You are why people from inside and from outside our town say to me, Strathmore is a friendly, caring community. To the Strathmore administration, I am very thankful for your unwavering commitment to the town and your desire to make the town even more responsive to the needs of our citizens. To the staff, your loyalty and dedication is without question. You have overcome difficulties and negativity and responded in a professional, respectful manner. Over the past 4 years, I was fortunate to work with municipally elected officials, both here in our community, nearby communities, and communities further away. Provincial and federal representatives of different stripes I have met with and discuss things. And I want to express my deep appreciation for their mentorship, guidance, advice, and unwavering support from all of the different people that I have come in contact with. Working with all of these people have made our town stronger. We are a better community when we listen to differing opinions and understand the benefit of diversity. I encourage each of us to keep working together. Strathmore is headed in a positive direction, and I see a new and exciting time for us. To council, thank you. So, next item on our agenda is responses to administrative inquiries, 13-1.
Sorry, you did mine, so you can try. Let me know.
I thought, yeah.
Thank you, Your Worship. And council. Got that one right. Sorry. For administration responses, I have a few updates, hopefully. One of the ones was, can administration report back to council possible measures that can be taken to improve traffic flow and stop illegal parking on Pine Road? And please understand that I wasn't arranged when that was first asked. So Pine Road, as you may or may not be aware, is a private road. So as a private road, it's like a condo or multifamily house where it has a road in it. It's that similar method. We can ask their condo board to put additional signs on there to address these issues. We can do some things on our roads that are tied to that Pine Road. So on Spruce Drive, there is some plans ultimately to make it prevent left turning, which may enable us to not, if there is backup, people can go around because it wouldn't be backed up this way, because there is a backup going the opposite way. None of the solutions are very great, unfortunately. Communication on that would be the only thing. So I think the best way is trying to work with our partners in the community to try to minimize that. It hasn't been as bad as it has in the past with the other Tim Hortons opening up. I've noticed in my day, like I go up there at 7 in the morning or when I come up here at 6:30 to go get a coffee from McDonald's, and it hasn't been backed up like it was 3 years ago or 4 years ago. So, I mean, I don't know if it's quantitative. Any questions on that one, or am I missing?
Councillor Sobel?
Just briefly, Mark, thank you for that. The signage, you just made a comment in regards to the signage. I've always found that there's lots of signage there on Pine, just nobody obeys the sign. The signs are enforceable, is that correct, even though it's a private road?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
If I may, through the
Yes.
chair, the property owners have to give permission in order for that to happen. It is private property at the end of the day, and it's like as the director said, it is it's at the discretion of the condo, in a sense.
Right, but is there not a difference between that road because it's, because public have access to it?
Through the chair, not that I'm aware. It's still, it is a private property.
Well, I would really appreciate if administration can check into that a little bit further. I believe those are enforceable, enforceable signs on the roads that are completely open to public. Unless there's, I think they'd require signage indicating that that is restricted use in order for it to, for the no enforcement to portion to come into play. That's my understanding anyway. But, yeah, okay. Nothing. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Great. Another item on here was can administration report back to council on the possibility of installing a turnaround at the bulk water station? We absolutely agree that there should be one there. We are not currently looking at that until we get a finalization for the upgrade to the building here. And if we're going to remove the reservoir, there's no point in building something and then knocking it down. And there might be a better solution. One of the things that I am going to be looking forward to is actually, if we do put a new building here, my question is that a good location for the bulk water station, or should we build a new one somewhere else or in the community, right? And I'll be bringing forward an idea to investigate a new bulk water station.
Thank you. Councillor Walls.
Your worship, sorry, Mr. Rowlett, I don't know what your title is, the director, yeah. I think it's absolutely right. I think it's, as a user of that system, it's right in the middle by a school zone and stoplights, and it's really in the wrong location. So if we can look at getting that moved, that'd be perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Next one on my list here is Council Peterson inquired the following, that Ranch Estates Mobile Park has irrigation services. When the area was developed, the developer included irrigation in this. How or if other communities adjacent to canal can access irrigation like this, response can be in a month from now. Months from now. Well, it's been the months from now. So this is before my time as well. Council agreed previously, previous councils, to decommission the town's original irrigation system, where we did do that. And the council of the day, decided to decommission that system because it was not financially viable. And along with a bunch of other reasons, I'm sure, but that's the main gist of it. If we were to look at this, we would have to require a bylaw change and a shift on council's policy back to a public irrigation system, which, what I just said there, I'm jumping ahead of my own words. I guess we would need direction of what exactly do you mean by investigate this, and where do you want to take it? If it's allowing private individuals to get canal access, or is it a public system? And do we want to get into that business? And is it for public facilities, or is it for private facility? All those details.
Councillor Peterson.
I think there are sort of two main things that have come about. So first of all, I have an answer to the first question, and that was that the developer was able to put it in at their own cost and put it in as a part of their development. But it doesn't really speak to current land use bylaw, I don't think, and it's something that we probably could look at into the future. So if we had a developer that wanted to come in on the east side or west side of town and say, we're putting this development in and we want to put irrigation in, and we want to put something to do with eco-sustainability with regards to irrigation out of one of the existing ponds, what would that look like? Is it a possibility? The more we move to people who want to engage in urban farming, that's, greenhouses in the midst of communities, those kinds of things, that's going to be something that they will want to examine into the future. So it ties into that whole idea, will developers have the opportunity to negotiate those kinds of things in the future? The second one is more relevant to existing communities. This particular question came out of Glenwood, and they asked, I think what they were asking is there a possibility that if the community came together, could they somehow still tie back into the old system? The answer I got from that is no, it's not sustainable any longer. And then would there be a way to build their own sustainable system if that's a desire on the part of community into the future? And I don't have the answer to that.
Good questions.
But that's fine, and I'm prepared to wait.
We'll definitely consider that in our new land use bylaw and also in our stormwater master plan, where it talks about volume control. This, like on our storm ponds, and reuse of water will be a volume control issue. So using our stormwater ponds, the canal, the eco stuff, there may be a possibility with the WID because it's a farming aspect, right?
I have a great interest, future interest in looking at intentional communities that, you know, Councillor Sobel and I fight all the time over whether or not people should have chickens in their backyard. But one thing that we don't argue about is that if you bought your house not expecting to live next to a chicken, you shouldn't have to. And so if we build intentional communities that have condominiumized greenhouses in their space, in the middle of their development, and we can have access to non-potable water, watering sources for this kind of process into the future, or potable, if that's doable and it's reasonable for developers to be able to do that, that's something that I think would be extremely positive for our community in terms of future development.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson.
And thank you.
And you didn't put numbers on it, so now I'm in trouble. Ryan can speak to this one here. Is there a timetable for timeline for sites to be remedied after demolition? How long do developers have to redevelop the site? As an example, the property at Lakeside Boulevard and Fifth Avenue has been demolished, but the site still remains undeveloped and unsightly. How long can the site remain undeveloped? Are there measures in place within the current land use bylaw to require deadlines for remedy? Can administration bring forth back information to council for discussion on the matter for the next council meeting?
Thank you, Mark. So, Your Worship, with regards to that, and I do almost feel like a broken record saying this particular phrase, that's something of a bit of a blind spot under the current land use bylaw. It doesn't speak to sort of site rehabilitation after demolition. So what we've instructed staff to do with our new development permits is to begin including, as well as sort of a timeline, a development permit you have to start within 1 year lapses. So including then a requirement in DPs that if you sort of don't start or if the permit lapses, that the site be remediated back to its initial condition. So that gets the community sort of an interim measure to begin dealing with these. Enforcing under development permits isn't strong, but it gets us something, gets the community something going right away. So we've instructed staff to do that as soon as we've settled on good language. So that'll be something that goes forward. And then as well, when we do sort of a good review of the land use bylaw, which is intended for this winter, that's something that we'll look to council, bring some proposals to add some substantial teeth to that. Again, so that way the community is not enforcing under the community standards bylaw or the building bylaw, but rather putting it directly into the land use bylaw. We'll also look at some amendments to the, I do always refer to it as the building bylaw, but we do name it something slightly different here too. Look even at, you know, at adding some requirements on demolition and even, and it's something we'll discuss with council, and it'll be up to council how we go, but looking at deposits on demolition permits to make sure sites are remediated. So there are a number of policy options. There are a couple of sites in town that are looking pretty grungy. So in the immediately going forward, we'll change how development permits are issued to add some language and then come up with some stronger policy over the winter.
Thank you. Councillor Blokland, you had a question?
Thank you, Your Worship. No, I'd just like to thank you both for looking into that. I think that was one of my inquiries a while ago. And my intent wasn't to force any developer or contractor to go in there and build, you know, a week after the thing got demolished. I was more concerned about the properties sitting for a length of time and the aesthetic look of it and the safety part. And I've been getting complaints about the other property that you're probably aware of. And I'm not sure what they're doing there, but it's not looking nice over there either. But thanks for doing what you did so far.
Thank you, Councillor Blokland. Go ahead, sir.
Your Worship and Council. The next item, I'm not going to read the whole statement here, but this one pertains to the town's use of its watering truck for watering trees and shrubs. And there was one response and then another response back about how much water was actually used. I'm also interested in approximately how many gallons of water was used this summer and the cost of the same. So today I went to our utility board and I asked them to pull all our parks departments from the bulk water station and asked them how much they used, because that's basically where they get filled up. So we used, as of October the 1st, 1,772 cubic meters of water, right? The town's cost for that water is what we pay the town of Strathmore, or city of Calgary for the bulk water, which is 41 cents a cubic meter. The bulk water, if we were to charge ourselves, the bulk water rate is $4.50 a cube. So depending on how you want to look at the numbers, I'd just give you the two numbers that we use. So if you use the 41 cents, it'd be about $726. If you use the $4.50, it was just under 10 grand, 9 grand or something like that of water. So then the other part of this conversation was about using water from the WID being free, basically. But there's costs associated with a new pump and all that stuff, so we haven't calculated that. But I hope, does that answer the question?
Councillor Sobel?
Thanks. Well, it does. Thank you for that. I guess my subsequent question would be: is there a will to look into this for administration to, considering that we passed our environmental policy today, and one of the parts of that is you know, I guess it's just common sense to use non-potable water to water plants if it's possible. And especially if the water is free. I know there's some setup, but I guess the question is whether or not there's a will to undertake a project like that by administration. My question comes down to whether or not this is feasible. Its feasibility as to if it's going to increase the time frame to do this work. If it's not feasible, if it's financially detrimental to our budget, then it's something we may have to consider abandoning. But we've never been able to determine how easy it is to do this, and what the pros and cons are.
Yeah, there's always a will. It's like you said, Mr. Sobel, it's a matter of balancing our priorities of where we want to put our effort in. One of the issues that comes up when people that said we currently use our water truck that we use to water these things is a potable water. So it is if we all of a sudden start using it for non-potable, we are never going to be able to use that for potable again. So then all of a sudden we lose that function in event of like we normally would go get a rent a car, trucks and stuff if there was an emergency, but this gives us a little bit more flexibility. So there's those things that are hard to quantify, and if we had and I think the next question we talk about, there's another about the bylaw and that, and when we get some of these other issues, if there's an opportunity to put things together, like if we had to put another irrigation for an eco community and have a point where we can actually have a fill station there, then that, and those things, I think there's some opportunity. I don't think there's a total no-go in my world.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Deputy Mayor Graychuk?
Thank you, Your Worship. Very good. Thank you, Mark. But there's a labor cost which hasn't entered in. The labor costs no matter if we pump it out of the canal or out of the our bulk water station would probably offset each other. I mean, who knows? That's to be calculated. But the one thing I've always had a hard time with, and this may be for another day, but I'd really like an answer to this one, and that is the cost of water from Calgary. Is that the $800,000 that we have to pay Calgary every year entered into that 41 cents? Because 5 years ago, it was 49 cents. How come, it certainly didn't drop. I really have a hard time with this 41 cents. And at one time, they were telling us all calculation figures enter of our costs were $1.70 per cube. And when you calculate all the numbers into it, it's a real figure is $1.70. Am I wrong? Let's give some real answers here. No disrespect.
Go ahead, sir.
Through the chair, certainly we can provide you with some numbers. Mel and I had some numbers that we could bring forward when we were doing some cost calculations. The actual cost of the product itself is 41 cents and change. I think it's going up to 44 cents, memory serves. There is a cost of conveyance. The conveyance charge as a percentage. When we did one of the cost analysis for one of our facilities, it's really not that much. And we can show you the cost. I don't have the information at my fingertips, but I'd be happy to show you. Thank you.
Well, I'm not going to argue with this, but why was it $1.70 a year ago, or 2 years ago, or 3 years ago? I don't remember when that figure came out, but it was $1.70 per cube, total all in to the town of Strathmore. Where did that figure? Somebody was snowing us then.
Well, I'm just, Deputy Mayor, the only thing I can suggest is get the information where you show it was $1.71, so administration knows what you're talking about. Yeah.
Go through the meetings,
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe they were all in camera, I don't know. That's the dangerous part.
Mr. Greatchat, I was, as we discussed at the last Sustainability Committee, I was going to bring forward those numbers back to you guys at that next committee in November, I believe the next meeting is, that I was going to bring you you asked the same question basically in a different format about the differences in the two prices, and I'm currently compiling that, so I can't answer your question right now, but I will at the next meeting.
Thank you.
And the last item that I have an update on is an issue of using the canal water from the town's plants and trees, or a few years ago. So it was this about the utility bylaw preventing the practice occurring. This, we believe, is a unilateral consequence of the water well issue. And basically, all I can say at this point is the administration is seeking a legal opinion to make sure that this would be still able to enforce requirement. So we're actually still getting back and forth to the lawyers.
Thank you very much for your information. Much appreciated.
Your worship, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Yes, Councillor Peterson's already talked in regards to 13.2, so we don't need that. I will take a motion.
Your worship, I move to go in camera.
We have a motion to go in camera
Matter under
for
FOIP section 24.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Carried.